As Greece continues to battle its wildfires, explosions were heard at the Volos military airbase, while some tourists and locals remain on the island of Rhodes.
Kyiv calls for more air defense systems as fierce fighting rages on in southern Ukraine, including the port city of Odessa.
As forest fires continue to ravage Greece, several loud explosions were heard at the Volos Air Force Base on Thursday evening after the flames reached the building housing weapons. The blast spread fear among local residents and shattered several window panes. No injuries were reported as surrounding villages were evacuated and all military personnel were relocated before the blaze reached the weapons depot. Meanwhile, on the island of Rhodes, some tourists and locals remain despite the declaration of the state of emergency and the subsequent evacuation of 20,000 people. Local businesses are dependent on the busy summer season for income, and a complete evacuation could spell economic disaster for them.
Economically, no family in Kotari area is going to survive the winter. It's heavy because nothing's open. You can't open. What are you going to open to? Locals? They don't go to dinner every day. No one goes to dinner every day. You save. You work hard in the summertime. We work very hard. We work 14 hours a day, even more.
Meanwhile, firefighters say as many as 10 fires have been contained around Rhodes. So far this summer, 124 fires were reported across the country, with thousands more declared across the European continent.
July 2023 is set to be a record breaker as the hottest month on record, possibly the warmest in human history. A few of the highs that have been set this month: we had 52.9 degrees Celsius in China, 48.2 degrees Celsius in Sardinia, 39.6 degrees at night in Algeria, and sea temperatures of 37.2 degrees in Florida. Now, we have been building up to this for some time. If we have a look at this graphic, then the black line shows daily global surface temperatures this year since January, and it's above average all year, building up to the peak that you see there in July. Now, this new all-time record is actually the culmination of the heat waves we've seen on land and also in the oceans. Here's Samantha Burgess from the Copernicus Climate Change Service.
So all of this additional warm air and warm surface water is kind of feeding back on each other. So we're seeing record temperatures warmer than we've ever seen before.
You may have heard that 2023 will be warmer because the El Niño phenomenon is back in the Pacific, part of a natural cycle on our planet. But scientists say it's actually too early for that.
It's not El Niño yet. So the expectation is that with the El Niño developing right now, we will get warmer temperatures to come. And the expectation is that the temperatures for 2024 may be even warmer still.
Indeed, the seasonal forecast for the rest of the year does show continued above average temperatures over land. So what can we do? Well, world leaders will have to act quickly at the G20 and COP28 summits in order to slash emissions of CO2 and methane into the atmosphere as soon as possible. Doing so will slow down the rate of warming, but there's no instant remedy. The heat and the weather extremes that we have been experiencing are with us for decades to come.
A visit to one of Ukraine's historic cathedrals, damaged by a series of Russian airstrikes on the southern city of Odessa. Moscow has pounded the city, which houses Ukraine's main ports, since it withdrew from a critical deal that previously allowed Kyiv to export its grains despite the war. Ukraine is now seeking more air defense systems to better protect the southern parts of the country.
Заслухав доповідь щодо ліквідації наслідків російських ударів по Одесі, по області, і тут у Свято-Преображенському храмі, який Росія намагалась знищити, відчувається, що наші люди, наш дух, все одно сильніший, ніж російський терор.
Meanwhile, fierce fighting continues on multiple points along the over 1,000-kilometer front line. This village in the Kilmenetsky region was struck twice this week, damaging a local cemetery. This video, released by Ukrainian forces, reportedly shows the moments its troops took control of a Russian position near the embattled city of Bakhmut, capturing supplies, including a machine gun. But while Ukraine has claimed some advances, such as the reclaiming control of a village, Moscow has praised its troops for repelling attacks in the southeastern Zaporizhia region. And Russia's Ministry of Defense claims it resisted 9 attacks by Ukrainian forces in the Donetsk region.
Hundreds of anti-Bazoum supporters took to the streets in Niamey on Thursday, gathering in front of the ruling party HQ and burning cars. Western countries are unsettled after Niger's democratically elected president was deposed by the Presidential Guard 2 days ago. The new coup could mean the end of one of the West's last allies in the fight against Islamic extremism in the Sahel.
Ce coup d'État est parfaitement illégitime et profondément dangereux pour les Nigériens, pour le Niger et pour toute la région. C'est pourquoi nous appelons à la libération du président Bazoum, à la restauration de l'ordre constitutionnel.
However, President Macron, who received Niger's president at the Elysee last month, is not the only one alarmed by the situation. ECOWAS, Brussels and the White House have all called for his immediate release.
We strongly support the democratically elected president, and we condemn in the strongest terms any effort to seize power by force and disrupt the constitutional order. We call for the immediate release of the president and respect for the rule of law and public safety.
Currently, confusion reigns over who is in charge. While the Guard nominated General Chiani as their leader, President Bazoum, who was democratically elected 2 years ago, has not resigned. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is in Washington as part of her first visit to the U.S. as head of state. She met with U.S. President Joe Biden on Wednesday at the White House to discuss global trade in China. The talks also focused on international aid to Ukraine. Both leaders highlighted their commitment to supporting Kyiv and defending their economic interests.
Italy and the United States are also standing strong with Ukraine, and I compliment you on your very strong support and defending against Russian atrocities, and that's what they are. It's not just a war, but Russia's committing atrocities.
Competition from other nations that do not meet our standards in terms of worker protection, safety, environmental protection, undermine our companies and workers. So a free trade without rules has shown its limits. We must find the right balance between openness and the protection of our economy.
Her visit comes amid concerns from Washington over her far-right ideology, but her consistent backing of Ukrainian sovereignty and advocating for a stronger NATO have managed to ease some of the fears.
Intense rains, hurricane winds, flight cancellations, power outages and roadblocks. Taiwan suffers the effects of Typhoon Doksuri, passing through the south and east of the island. A woman who fell into the river and was swept away by the current. Tens of thousands of homes were without power and there were several landslides. For fear of more landslides, over 3,000 people were evacuated from the town of Kaohsiung. The effects of the Doksuri passage have also been felt in China. This Friday it made landfall in Xinjiang, in the southeast of the country, with wind gusts of up to 50 meters per second. The authorities have activated the maximum emergency level for typhoons and ordered the evacuation of more than 200,000 people.
Support from a Hong Kong court for the pro-democracy movement in the former British colony. A judge on Friday rejected a government request to ban the broadcast or distribution of the protest anthem Glory to Hong Kong. The application for an injunction came after the song was played mistakenly at several international sporting events instead of China's national anthem. If it had been passed, it would have targeted anyone who used the song to advocate for the separation of Hong Kong from China. In his landmark ruling, the judge said a ban would curtail freedom of expression and could cause what he described as chilling effects to innocent third parties. The song was written in 2019 during mass pro-democracy demonstrations. With its lyrics calling for democracy and liberty, it quickly became the anthem of the movement. Critics and human rights activists say attempts to ban the song are another sign of Beijing's crackdown on dissent against the Chinese government.
In Hungary, thousands of events await visitors in Veszprém and around Lake Balaton during the European Capital of Culture season. One of these is the ongoing Valley of Arts Festival, where more than 2,000 activities are organized over 10 days, from readings to concerts and folk dance classes. The ECC organizers say they are delighted with the first half of the season.
Már az első fél évben megdupláztuk a Veszprémben a vendégészakák számát az előző év hasonló időszakához képest. Közel 300 000 látogató vett részt Európa kulturális fővárosa rendezvényeken, úgyhogy bátran állíthatjuk, hogy nagyon sikeres fél éven vagyunk túl.
International pop stars are also part of the program, playing at a brand new venue.
Az EKF program legfontosabb könnyű zenei helyszíne a veszprémi gyárkert, ami egy régi bútorgyár területén épült. A következő bő egy hónapban itt fog fellépni Iggy Pop, a Kraftwerk és a Franz Ferdinand is. A tér közepén pedig egy különleges installáció van.
The Garden of Communities has 116 flower boxes. Each box belongs to the municipalities hosting the events. Many small villages are participating. One of them hosts a classical music festival. After the first concert, the musicians took to the back of a van to spread word of the event to all the towns in the area. And guests staying in the village can learn the little things that are needed for a piano performance to be really captivating.